So how Susan connected with Value, the student movement in the United States? Well, back in the 80s, there's an event called the Adult Literacy Congress. And the very first one was actually held in Philadelphia in 1987, and it was the first time in the United States history that adult learners ever got together from across the United States and made a statement on literacy. 2 years later, they did it again. And this time it was in Washington, D.C., and Barbara Bush was in the White House. And we got invited, the adult learners, us, to come to the White House. And Barbara Bush was that connection. And that's how we got to meet Susan and saw her at that event. She got to meet some of us. And then after that, that was the end of it, that event's over. Well, Susan then went to NIFL. And then at NIFL, with Susan behind there, guess what? They got adult learners to be, my brain just went dead on the title, interns. And so for the first time, adult learners got grants to do work in adult literacy. And when people went to NIFL, there was Susan there. And so Archie Willer was one of the first, and Satila, and they said, you have to meet this wonderful person named Susan. It's like my friend, they invite me into the office. And then, following year, I also got a fellowship. And so when you go to Washington, D.C., it's like, come over here, come sit in my office. Tell me what's going on. And so Susan became our sounding board for the student leaders. She met Elaine, and Elaine would sit with her and said, you gotta meet this person. Oh yeah, I did meet Susan. And so she was meeting the student leaders and sharing with us. And then in NIFL, you might not know this, but the federal government started Value at the National Institute for Literacy. And we know from Susan, behind the scenes working it, gave the seed grant to bring the 45 adult learners together at a place called Highlander. So if it wasn't for Susan behind the scenes, there would not have been a Valueusa. And so there's that connection with Susan and Value. And then just literally a couple of days before Susan died, me and Elaine went to visit her at our house, and she said, come over here, okay? Tell me what's going on. Tell me what's happening with Value. Let me know what's going on. And so, okay, here's what's going on. Blah, 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 blah. And then after it all said, she looked at, Susan, it was this finger. You better keep Value going. And so far, for the last 14 years, we have kept Value going. And so that is why we honor Susan with that spirit. And that's why every year, every other year, we give this award. And just so you know, this hangs in our office. It's a plaque for Susan, and every winner names is on here, and we will eventually fill this plaque up and have to get a second one. So this is what we do. So that's the connection.
David Clemons, who came to the Washington Literacy Center in 1996 at the age of 47. He began his journey with one goal in mind, to be able to fill out a job application without assistance. But in the process of improving his own literacy skills, he quickly stood out as a student leader who could guide and inspire other adult learners on their journeys as well, and took on a leadership position at DC's newly formed literacy coalition, DC Learns. He began by speaking at tutor trainings and student orientations, and soon was advocating before the Rehabilitative Services Administration to improve their services for adults. Before too long, he was speaking to children and teens at national conferences for teachers, before probation officers, and to donors and potential funders. In fact, it was David's ability to speak to any size audience, coupled with his thoughtful presentations, that was critical in early major funding for DC Learns. He didn't stop there, however. He wanted to help others develop their speaking skills as well, and was instrumental in establishing an adult learners speaking bureau at the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Library in Washington, D.C. In 2006, David was hired by the Washington Literacy Center to be its student support coordinator. In this capacity, he was the first point of contact for new students involved in intake and assessments, and most importantly, working with students to define their goals so he could find just the right program to meet their needs. For 17 years, David Clemons has been an advocate, an educator, and a speaker on behalf of adult learners, and he has had a powerful impact on so many individuals, as well as the programs he helped initiate and nurture. His charisma, sincerity, and passion shines through in everything he does. David was nominated by Nicole Lubar, former education director of the Washington Literacy Center, Christina Keene, case manager at the Washington Literacy Center, Monique Watson, David's former tutor at the center, and Marcia Harrington, manager of the Adult Literacy Resource Center at the DC Public Library. David Clemons, we're happy to have you come up, and will those who nominated him please come up too.
I'm not going to tie you guys up too long, but I do want to say a few words. Excuse me, my voice is a little shaky because I get very emotional. When we come down to this literacy things, because I did work very hard. But I didn't, excuse me, I didn't do it because I thought it was a hard job. I did it because I just want to learn how to read. And I know every time I got with a group of people that were doing something positive with literacy, it built me up. All night long I kept thinking about what do I want to say. I wanted to give you something to walk away with. Like, you know how you hear this song in the morning and it stays in your head all day long? I wanted you to walk away with that feeling. But I don't have that. But what I do have is that my life has changed tremendously because of these people, value, and all the kind of people that I've met throughout the years in this event called Literacy for Adults. And I want to thank you all. Apologize for the shaky voice.
On behalf of Value, Mr. Clemons, it is our pleasure to present to you this Susan Green Award on this, the 7th day of May 2013.
Right.